Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And tonight we are going to do a weekend review. And this is a part of A View from Tracy's Point Shorts, where I give a quick overview rundown of things that have been taking place in the news. So let's start off with the death of Christophe St. John. He's the actor from the show The Young and the Restless, and he has been on that show since forever. And so he was found dead a couple of days ago from what some people are saying was an alcohol overdose. The actor revealed in the past that he was having a tough time dealing with the suicide of his son. His son took his life November 23rd of 2014. His ex-wife, Mia, who he divorced in 1995, put out this crazy tweet saying that the hospital had killed both her son and her husband. It was really confusing, bizarre. Nobody really knows what she was talking about, but St. John was engaged to a young woman. I think she's Russian. And they were supposed to get married this fall, and the actor was 52 years old. And so on Twitter, as people were giving out their condolences, people were surprised when a tweet came up from none other than Bill Cosby. And he basically was showing, it had a clip where he was giving his condolences to the family and, talking about, what a good person St. John was. And he had a clip from the episode of The Cosby Show where St. John was portraying Denise's boyfriend, and he was like a vegan or something. And so I was really surprised by the number of people that were liking the post, but just as many people who liked the post and retweeted the post were people that were shocked that inmates have access to the internet. And I don't know how much access they have, because I know this guy who is in prison for a really long time. He was a drug dealer here in St. Petersburg, and he runs a t-shirt business. Now he's in federal penitentiary somewhere, but he runs a t-shirt business on Facebook. And I know people that are like photographers in prisons. They do the remember when we used to go to the club and they would have the scene in the background and you take the picture. I know people who do those, and then they be posting the pictures on social media. So I don't know if they are the ones that are actually on social media. I'm sure Bill Cosby has a social media representative. Hell, it might be Camille. Because what does Camille do all day? She might be sitting at the house posting on Twitter. But anyway, after I read that condolences, and it was a nice condolence, nice gesture. His situation of being in prison doesn't really take away from the relationships that he's had with people and, wanting to give support. So I went and checked the actual Twitter account, and so whoever is running the Twitter, they've been posting since about November or December. Not every day, but just as things happen, they'll make a post. And so I just thought it was interesting that people were actually liking it, and nobody was being like really harsh or cruel in the comments at the time that I saw it. And then also, speaking of Bill Cosby, there was a story that came out where the prison was on lockdown because he goes out into the yard, for recreation time. And then somebody flew a drone over the prison. So they were trying to figure out if it was an inmate or an employee that was telling somebody on the outside, oh yeah, Bill Cosby goes out, to read at such and such time, and this is the area, of the grounds that he's on. So yeah, fly that drone over, or rather it was just a person that was just trying their luck with the drone. And then there was another story about, the inmates and how they're treating him, like they are happy he's there, they're engaging with him. He's, talking to the inmates, counseling the inmates. I don't know. Bill is making himself at home. And I mean, Martha Stewart went to prison. She seemed to do okay, the years that she served, and she came out and was a better person for it. So maybe Bill Cosby would do the same. And then also, I mentioned in my other recaps of my Hot Topics versus girl chat videos that I did one for yesterday and today. I mentioned that today is Trayvon Martin's birthday. He would have been 24 years old if he hadn't been murdered by George Zimmerman. And so I think it's ironic that George Zimmerman has turned out to be the criminal that he thought Trayvon Martin was, and see how God works. And then I thought it was interesting on TMZ today. They made a similar analogy. So they were talking about the Kardashians and like, do the Kardashians have a curse? And so they were talking with a guy who's with the basketball organization that Kendall Jenner is dating this basketball player, and asking him, like, is he scared that he's dating a Kardashian? And so the guy was saying, basically, since they started dating, our team has been 13-2. So it seemed like she's bringing us good luck. So then they pointed out, oh, well, wait a minute, Kendall and Kylie, because Travis Scott, he just sung at the Super Bowl and his career seems to be doing fine. So then they pointed out that Kendall and Kylie are actually Jenners. They're not Kardashians. So then they was like, okay, wait a minute. Robert Kardashian got OJ off for killing Nicole Brown and the Robert Goodman guy. So maybe the real curse is on Robert Kardashian, even though he's deceased, but because he got OJ off for that murder, now all these black athletes now have to suffer. So what do you guys think about that? Leave your comments below and let me know what you think about that little analogy that TMZ came up with. So then I also pointed out, Nick Cannon is co-hosting for the Wendy Williams show. And once again, go check out my Hot Topics versus Girl Chat videos where I compare the Hot Topics segment to the Reels Girl Chat segment. And just the different things that they talk about on the opening of the shows. I watch them so you don't have to, okay? So Nick Cannon is co-hosting, but Nick was on V103, and he did a interview with them. And one of the things they asked him about was the whole R. Kelly docuseries, and Nick basically gave like the same version or the same explanation, the same feelings, thoughts, what have you, that Erykah Badu was slammed for. And so he was basically saying in the video that, R. Kelly is his friend. He puts out great music. He thinks he's a wonderful talent, that, you can't just throw him away because, he has made such a contribution. And then I'm just going to drop a portion of that clip and what he was saying in the video so you can hear it for yourself, and then let me know what you think about it.
You interviewing Dame.
Yeah.
Part of that interview was specifically talking about R. Kelly.
Yeah, it was.
And you had a song with R. Kelly.
Yeah, several songs.
What has been your thought?
It's unfortunate, man, and I want to bring it back to our community and our family. Imagine if, this was one of your close family members and you got this information, and I think I have a different outlook on it because I've had abuse in my family, and when you have somebody that you admire and respect as a patriarch in your family, and then you find out that they did some stuff that is sickening and horrendous to another family member, you got to bring that in and deal with that internally, and I think that's what's going on right now, to where this is our family, this is our community. R. Kelly has made some amazing music that we all loved, and for us to have to understand that, oh man, this is someone we admired and loved so much. And the same thing with with the Bill Cosby situation. This is somebody that was a part of my culture, a part of my family, and so I can't throw a family member away. You know what I mean? But I cannot condone what he has done. So when we have to deal with it on these issues, there's no correct answer. But I think the one thing that we got to focus on are these women and these victims.
Yes,
and not
say
let's
that.
forget about R. Kelly and punishing and throwing him away and muting him. No, let's uplift and empower these women,
Right.
and so these things no longer happen in our community, because that's who've been muted for so long.
Yeah.
The women have been muted, so let's unmute the women and focus on them, and listen to them, not just say, oh well, she shouldn't have been there. It's not about that. Let's empower women and put them in positions so these situations no longer happen.
Wow.
And then another video that I was watching, I actually follow this young lady. Her channel is called Neek at Night, and she's a bigger channel. She has like over 100,000 subscribers, and she interviewed the guy that was on the R. Kelly docuseries, who was the road manager. And so I'm going to put that link in the description below so that you guys can go and check that video out. But it was very interesting because the guy basically said that he was R. Kelly's road manager and personal assistant for like 10 years, from like 1985 to 1995, right after the whole Aaliyah marriage thing came out. And so he was basically talking about how in the docuseries, he comes off as saying that he forged Aaliyah's name or her age or something on that marriage certificate. But he said, and he's not the only person that has come out since that docuseries to say that a lot of things were distorted and edited, like they were editing and chopping up conversations and adding them to other conversations to make totally different sentences come out. And basically there was a lot of lies, that they knew that certain people were lying in the docuseries and that they went ahead and aired it anyway. And I believe that part because I think I pointed out in one of my other videos that there was, I think it was the Today Show or either Good Morning America, one of those shows had done a series of interviews with those different women. And then when it was time to air the interviews, their legal team came and said, no, we can't air this stuff because our research people have not been able to verify that this stuff is true. So we're not going to put ourselves out there, in legal jeopardy by airing this stuff. So he was basically saying the same thing. So according to him, they edited his content to say that he had driven them to get married, that he had forged these marriage certificates or whatever. But he's saying that what he actually said was that he drove them to a government building where he knew someone who could give Aaliyah fake identification, and that once she got the fake identification, then her and R. Kelly went on and filled out their own paperwork, signed their own documents, and got married. And so I thought that was interesting. And then the other thing he talked about was that he had a sister, and that so he was upset with R. Kelly because R. Kelly slept with his sister. But it turns out that R. Kelly was like younger, from what I could gather, maybe he was like 19, 20, something like that. And the sister was close to 30, and the sister slept with him. But he was mad at R. Kelly for sleeping with the sister, but not mad at the sister for sleeping with his employer, who was much younger. And then he kept talking about how R. Kelly had like a very childlike mind and was like really silly and immature. I said, okay, so your sister definitely took advantage of him and probably recognized that he was about to be a star. And then the other thing that he pointed out that I thought was interesting was that he said that he stole. So I guess members of the group public announcement said that there was a tiff between him and R. Kelly because he stole some money from R. Kelly. So this fool sat there and said, I never stole any money from him. If I ever took any money from him, it was like $200. And that was because I hadn't been paid and my family was hungry and I needed money, to support my family. And he had all this money in his wallet and the money was just laying there. So I took $200 to feed my family. Okay, sir, that's stealing. Then he said that when he was fired, that he had told R. Kelly's manager, like manager, that he still had this American Express Black card. and that the manager said, oh, don't worry about it, sort of like, oh, when he ain't mad no more, he gonna bring you back on, so just go ahead on and take the card. So he took the card and he charged the card. He said, but that wasn't stealing because they told him to take the card. But he said he did end up getting rehired by R. Kelly later on, but then it didn't work out again. And I was just like, dude, come on, for real. And whoever this guy is, he wrote a book some time ago about his time working for R. Kelly, and then I guess they dug him up to do this docuseries and brought him on to the show. And he was basically saying that none of them got paid for doing the show, but they got compensation, like if they had photos and stuff like that that they could give to the people to use on the show, or video footage. They got paid for that, but nobody got paid for their appearance, and that they weren't paid a lot. Like nobody could quit their day job, off of what they got off the docuseries. But like I said, I'll put the link below and you can watch the whole interview. Then in other R. Kelly news, if you guys remember, I talked about in one of my videos where Gloria Allred hosted this press conference where she had Jocelyn Savage's mom, the Lisa Van Allen, I think the Azrael Clary girl's mother, and then there was a lady on there named Faith Rogers. And the Faith Rogers lady, they were in New York because she was supposedly going to meet with the New York Police Department to talk about her allegations against R. Kelly. Well, it came out last night that not only was she not going to meet with them to discuss her allegations, but her case against R. Kelly had been closed last year sometime. So they're not investigating him. They closed out the case that she had, saying that they were both consenting adults and there was no proof that anything had happened. And so that's why we haven't heard from Gloria Allred or this woman since that press conference was taking place. And then the city of Philadelphia has passed a symbolic resolution to ban R. Kelly from the city. The resolution doesn't stop him from visiting the city or performing there. It is merely a show of support that the city doesn't support his behavior. They don't support pedophilia, sexual assault, enslavement, or anything like that. I don't know if that was a waste of time, waste of taxpayer dollars to do that, but there were people that were happy that the ban was passed, and then there were other people saying that they got crime and all of that going on, and that's what the city needs to be focusing on. And then R. Kelly announced that his latest album is finished and he's seeking distribution. Some in the industry believe that he may be able to find an independent distributor, but it may be a hard task to do. Meanwhile, the artist Jennifer Hudson says that she is removing songs written and produced by R. Kelly from her catalogs, and she won't be performing them anymore. There were a couple of other artists, I think Fat Joe was one of them, and somebody else that said that they wouldn't be performing his music anymore. And then I already told you guys that Omarion says that on this B2K Millennial Tour that he will be performing those songs written by R. Kelly, and he'll retire them after this tour is over with. And then the actress, not actress, but the singer Selena Johnson, she came forward and said that she's really torn about the whole, not performing the music anymore, removing the music from the catalog, because that music meant a lot to her. And then there was like one song in particular, she says that every time she thinks about this song, it makes her want to cry, because it was about female empowerment, and that the fact that he could write such a powerful song and then be accused of doing these things has her really torn. But from what I could gather, maybe the songs that aren't selling, that people ain't checking for, she ain't gonna perform them no more. But the ones that people love, like that song about the female empowerment, she will continue to perform that song. And then I don't think she was taking any of her songs out of catalogs or off of streaming, because the sister need her dollars. And so that goes back to the whole Nick Cannon thing, where he was like, why should people lose money like he wrote and produced these songs, but they sung the songs that, you know, they are entitled to earn that revenue for putting in that work. And he doesn't think that people should be removing songs from catalogs or not singing the songs at their concerts. And then my last thing on R. Kelly is that he announced that, I think it was today, that he is going on an Australian tour. I think he released the dates, but not the venues. And then he was going to Australia. He was going to Sri Lanka. I didn't even know that Sri Lanka was big like that, where they have concerts, or would even know who R. Kelly is. And then we know that he already had a concert scheduled for, I think, in Germany somewhere. And since the docuseries, he's added like another 1 or 2 shows to that tour taking place in Germany. So there are people that still are willing to work with him. And I'm going to say that if those concerts do go off and they are successful, that somebody, a record distribution, like he has his own label that he can produce his music off of. He just needs somebody to distribute the music. And I believe that based on how these tours go, that will determine whether somebody steps up and say, hey, we're going to distribute this music for him. Now, let's move over to Jussie Smollett, where we're at with this investigation about his racist, homophobic beatdown that he says he had. So Jussie performed at the Troubadour in California. Of course, since all this happened, the concert sold out. Jussie got on stage, and I'm going to drop that video for you guys. But the surprising thing that he says in this video is that he fought off those attackers. Like, he was holding his phone, talking to his agent, was able to fight off his attackers, and he was still able to hold on to his Subway sandwich because he was seen on video re-entering the apartment building with his Subway sandwich in his hand.
I love you! Just because there's been a lot of stuff that has been said about me that's absolutely not true. And so I feel like I'm sure my lawyer's sitting up here like, no, Jussie, no, shut the fuck up and sing. Daryl, I'm sorry. There's just a couple of points that I wanted to make really quick. Just because it's 4 points. My little sister is literally like Olivia Pope, like she's in the back. I was bruised, but my ribs were not cracked. They were not broken. I went to the doctor immediately. Frank Gatson drove me. I was not hospitalized. Both my doctors in LA and Chicago cleared me to perform, but said to take care, obviously. And above all, I fought the fuck back. I'm the gay Tupac. So now we can do our own tour.
And he also refers to himself as the gay Tupac in this video. And I'm like, boy, you going too far right now. So what do y'all think about Jussie referring to himself as the black Tupac? Is he going too far, or is he on to something? Y'all let me know. So another inconsistency is that police initially said that he left to go get food shortly after midnight. Now it's being reported that he was seen leaving the Subway shop right before the alleged attack, which would have been like around 1:45 a.m. So there's still some unaccounted for time if he actually did leave that apartment complex like around 12:15, 12:30, because when people say shortly after, I'm thinking like within a 15-20 minute time span. Then there was a story that came out where one of the people that live in the apartment complex, which we should have known she was lying because it wasn't his apartment. It was like his agent's apartment or his manager's apartment. But she was saying that she was a neighbor of Jussie. She knows him very well. And so she tells this story about going down at 12 o'clock to walk her dog or something in this freezing cold weather and seeing this man that looked like a redneck, that he had on some blue jeans. I think he had like a sweatshirt or something, some blue jeans. His pants showed that he had on gray socks and some camel colored shoes. Like, she was just giving out too many details and said that he was looking suspicious. But then police pulled the footage from the building and said that they did not see anybody who fit the description that this woman gave. So of course that was discounted. And then I'm going to read you guys, because I get my information about the Jussie case from this reporter from ABC 7 in Chicago, and he's been really good about updating what's going on. So basically the police haven't really said anything about the case since Friday, when they came out and did a press conference and was basically saying at this point they have no reason to believe that Jussie is lying, and that they believe the truth is, to him, what he says that the truth is. Then they came out yesterday and said that they're still looking for people to come forward with more information that may have witnessed something. The two people that were in that picture that they put out have not come forward yet. But I think that those two people, some are saying are homeless people. I don't know whether they were homeless or not, but it looked like an older man and a woman to me in the pictures. But anyway, they haven't come forward to say why they were walking down the street at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I read somewhere that that footage was actually taken at like 1:20, between 1:20 and 1:30, whereas Jussie says that he was attacked shortly before 2 a.m., right before he showed up at the apartment building. So not sure why they would be wanting to talk to these people if they were passing by. Oh, and then they also came out and said that the people would have been on the opposite side of the street, like walking towards Jussie, not like coming up behind him. So they put that out yesterday, that they were looking for more people to come forward. Then today they released a statement saying that they have gone out like door to door to stores and other businesses along the route that I guess Jussie had taken, and they have been able to get more footage, but they're not going to like publicly talk about the footage because a lot of people have been calling in with tips and information. And so they don't, they're trying to sort through whether this is real information or if it is a hoax. And so they don't want to get things all mixed up and confused or give people ammunition to say, okay, well, they put that out, so I'm going to call in and say this. So Rob said earlier today, he was like, Chicago police are also withholding certain details from surveillance video detectives have located because multiple people are calling in with tips. They want to make sure tipsters actually saw something and aren't just calling with info they see on TV or social media. And then he says Chicago police tell ABC as of yesterday, Chicago police detectives started visiting a series of stores that the white rope allegedly used in the attack could have been sold from. Detectives are continuing to do that today. Now, what's interesting about this white rope is the police, in the police report, they don't refer to it as a noose. They refer to it as a thin like rope that was hanging around his neck like a necktie. And then I had read where somebody said that somebody they know that worked for the police department told them that it was actually the type of rope that, if you guys are familiar with clothesline, like people my age would know about clotheslines, and that it was like the rope that clotheslines were made out of, where you went and, hung your clothes up outside. And so they're saying that's the type of rope that it was. So I'm thinking, okay, are they looking for video footage to see if Jussie actually came in and purchased that rope that night? They say that Jussie is the victim, but like some of the stuff that's coming out look like Jussie might be a suspect at this point. And then he wrote on February 4th, he said in the original police case report in the Jussie Smollett attack, Police say the victim told them two unknown males approached him and gained his attention by saying verbatim, "Empire, faggot, nigger." Victim related that he is an actor on the TV show Empire. He says that they also pointed out that when on the part of the police report where it says sobriety, they said that Jussie was sober when they spoke to him. And it was just other little things like that. And if you want to follow this guy, he's on Twitter. His name is Rob Elgas, Elgas. And his handle is Rob Elgas ABC7. And like he is up to date posting on Twitter about this case. And here's a story that I came across when I was doing the Hot Topics versus Girl Chat videos where they were talking about the Super Bowl. So I was looking for, images and video, to back up that information that I was putting in the video. And so I came across this story from theroot.com, and it was about Colin Kaepernick mural demolished before the Super Bowl. So the article says, when a popular mural featuring Colin Kaepernick alongside a Wakanda-fied Muhammad Ali came crashing down the Friday before the Super Bowl in Atlanta, it didn't go unnoticed or unanswered. The day of the Super Snooze Bowl, because everybody was saying that it was a horrible Super Bowl. The clapback was epic as 8 more Kaepernick murals went up. Bringing the city's total to 9 overall. So they're not playing in Atlanta. So dubbed Capper Bowl, in defiance of the mural's demolition, Atlanta artists answering a call via Instagram rallied around Fabian occasional superstar Williams, who painted the first mural featuring the outspoken quarterback suited up for the Falcons roughly 2 years ago when it was clear that no NFL teams were picking him up. Williams felt that Atlanta was the perfect place for Cap, since Atlanta, the birthplace of Martin Luther King Jr. and the home of several civil rights icons, is where people change the world. Inspired to come to Atlanta by his love of the Dungeon family, which famously birthed Outkast, the North Carolina native has been in the city for nearly 20 years. In addition to painting murals and other works, Williams regularly visits local schools, showing kids that being a visual artist is just as viable as being an athlete or rapper. He even walked from one school to the now demolished mural with a group of kids to discuss it and field questions. Surely it's that kind of commitment and investment that sparked the community outrage over the mural's demolition. The community really embraced it, according to Ash Nash, a visual artist manager and arts advocate who works with Williams. And so did those outside the community. The now demolished mural was a tourist attraction. It was so popular that George Tillman Jr., director of the socially conscious 2018 film The Hate U Give, tapped Kaepernick to create another one of Kaepernick when they filmed in Atlanta. The mural is still up and once again ties the activist to Muhammad Ali with the reimagination of Ali's epic 1968 Esquire cover depicting him in the pose of the 15th century martyr, Saint Sebastian. Williams flipped the script for his Saint Kaepernick creation by having the arrows break as they come at the unemployed quarterback, dressed this time in a victory jersey. For this victory, the Capper Bowl GoFundMe page exceeded its goal immediately, and I did check out the GoFundMe page. The goal was $10,000, and they had raised $10,395 when I was looking at it. So 8 artists were selected to pull off this incredible feat that Nash largely managed. There are people that we felt comfortable handing the assignment over to because, one, We didn't want to just throw up some poor looking murals, Williams told the group via phone. The aesthetics, Williams insisted, was very important to him. To avoid demolition this time around, Nash, who shared that they very much wanted to tie the murals to local businesses to maximize the national and global attention they've received since the demolition, said they vetted the buildings. The longest portion it took in the organization of getting the murals painted was making sure that the businesses had approval to have murals on the wall. Business owners were donating walls, but they didn't necessarily own their businesses or have approval from the landlord. Once that was all established, Williams felt he should set the tone, especially with the first building being about a 2-minute drive from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium that hosted the Super Bowl. Instead of me getting up in the morning with everybody else and painting at the same time, I wanted to set the bar so people would know the type of work that I expected and also do something that had a spiritual and moral core to it. So with that said, I wanted them to get how serious it is. According to Nash, donors have been informed that additional GoFundMe proceeds that help pay for supplies and the artists will also help support Bloom, the arts organization Williams has been developing for a while that aims to also use technology and creativity to tackle such social problems as sustainable housing and food. As for the NFL, Williams is adamant that embracing Kaepernick and his activism is their only option, especially in light of the extreme low viewership for this year's game. I really do believe the ratings were down because morally people can't mess with it. Nobody wants to feel like crap watching the game, he said. And he says, I feel like in order to resurrect the league and make the people love the sport again, they need to hire Kaepernick. And now there are 8 new reminders. So they tore down this building with this mural on it. And I guess they were thinking they did it because of the Super Bowl and people had to pass this location to get to the Super Bowl. So they went out there and put up 8 more. So it's like, how you like me now? So kudos to them. And also, I think I mentioned earlier that the Super Bowl, I think it was on another video, the Super Bowl experienced its lowest ratings in 10 years on Saturday night. And so people were debating whether it was because people were boycotting the Super Bowl in support of Kaepernick, because like there was a lot of tweets going on where all these celebrities who bought up all the doggone I'm with Cap t-shirts that Nike put out, which I wish they would go on sale again so I could try and get one again. But Nike said they're not going to keep putting them shirts on sale, that they're supposed to be like collector items. But there were like a lot of celebrities putting out pictures and videos of them wearing the shirts and saying that they stand with Cap, Ava DuVernay, Angela Davis, Nick Cannon, just to name a few of the people that were saying that they support him. And then other, celebrities were saying they weren't watching the game and that they support Cap. So NFL, it don't look like it's going away. And I think at this point, he probably can't physically be a starter quarterback on a team, but maybe he could get hired as a quarterback coach or working with a team with their quarterback field. I mean, because the man has been to the Super Bowl. So come on, NFL, swallow your pride and do the right thing. So my next story is about 21 Savage, and as you guys know, he was picked up by Immigration Customs Enforcement, I think is what ICE stands for. So the story that TMZ is putting out is that they were actually, ICE showed up wherever they were at looking for another guy, some rapper named Young Nudie, and that 21 Savage was with him at the time. And so they ran his information, and a past felony came up, which was supposed to have been expunged from his record. And now they're saying that because of this, he can be deported because of an expired visa. And so in 2017, he applied for an extenuating circumstance visa that has been impending ever since. And also they were saying that, so he committed whatever crime it was in 2017, but in 2014 or something, he was shot and a friend of his was killed, and so that's why he thought he qualified for this special visa that they have for people. And then TMZ reported today that his management team was coming out. You know, they were saying that he was a British citizen, but then other people that know him say that he wasn't from Britain, that he actually is from the island of Dominica. So now the ICE people are coming out saying that an official copy of a birth certificate obtained from a London registry office showed a boy named Shaye Ben Abraham was born on October 22nd, 1992 at Newham Hospital in East London to Kevin Emmons, a sales assistant, and a woman named Heather Joseph. And so Reuters was unable to independently verify the birth date of the rapper, but other media organizations listed it as October 22nd, 1992. But I guess his attorneys are saying that even though that's his name and his birthday, that is not him because he wasn't born in Britain. And so both parents are listed and their addresses are in London on this birth certificate. So I don't know if that's what his parents' names are, or it looks like it's going to be one of those stories that's going to keep unwinding. But as it stands now, he's being held and he has to go before the immigration court and to see if they're going to deport him. And I'm thinking like, dang. So, wow, that's messed up. So hopefully he can work it out and he can get to stay in the United States since he has been here for quite some time now. I was going to cover the story of Liam Neeson, but I talked about it a little bit or at length. I don't want to repeat it again. So if you go and you check out my Hot Topics versus Girl Chat video for today for February 5th, 2019, you can get the information on this Liam Neeson story. But one thing I do want to add that I didn't put in the original video about this is that one of my friends had posted on Facebook, and she was saying, you know, how outraged she was, how sick she was, how upset she was. And I was saying to her, you know, it is despicable what he did. It was uncalled for. There are some things that you should just take to the grave with you. I said, but in all honesty, I can guarantee you that whenever a unarmed black person is killed by police, that there are a whole bunch of black people that are saying to themselves in their anger that they wish they could go out and kill a cop or kill another person in retaliation for that. So I don't think it's really odd that that Neeson felt that way. What I think is odd is the fact that he felt the need to tell somebody that he felt that way. But I believe a lot of people get angry about stuff and, I don't know, have weird reactions to it. And then I was going to talk about the girl, I want to say she was in Detroit. I forgot to pull the story on it. But anyway, there was this young black girl who was stopped by police, and she had an expired registration. And so they seized her car. Now, where I live at, if you get stopped by the police and you have an expired registration, they write you a ticket. And if you go and get your car registered or the tag registered before the ticket is due and you bring proof that you have your current registration, they will write off the ticket. But I guess wherever this girl was, they seized your car. So she didn't live far away from where she was stopped at. And the police offered, there was 2 police officers in the car. They offered to give her a ride home. But I can imagine she was like, number one, I'm not getting in the car with y'all because I don't know y'all. Number 2, I'm not going to be pulling up at my house, getting out the police car. And number 3, I am so pissed and upset that it is freezing out here because this was during the cold snap. And I'm freezing, you know, and you out here taking my car. Why are you out here even pulling people over, writing tickets? So she decided to walk home on her own. So as she's walking home, the 2 police officers are in their car and they're recording her. And they're talking about, oh, this is black girl magic. It just making like little comments. And it was like, bye, Felicia. And, you know, so they're in trouble. and they've both been suspended. And then it came out that the main police officer, the one that's talking on the video, because I think the other guy was just laughing, but the one that's actually talking and recording, he's actually been in trouble before over some racist stuff that he's done. And so the police chief was saying that that happened before he was there, but had he been the police chief when the prior incident happened, he would have been fired. He wouldn't still be on his police force. So I'm thinking that this police chief is going to do everything he can to make sure that this police officer gets fired this time. And so, people were outraged. And I was like, I'm upset about the video, the fact that he recorded her. He was making fun of her and talking about black girl magic and angry black woman and stuff. I said, but I definitely understand her walking home, because I would have been so mad and upset. Like, my pride would not have allowed me to get in that car with them. And plus, she didn't know them. And if they were being rude to her when they were seizing the car, she probably was like, ain't no telling what they would do to me if I get in that car with them. So I'm sure they're going to sue the police department. I hope this police officer gets fired and that this girl isn't traumatized. And then the other story I was going to cover was about Bev Smith, or B. Smith. I'm going to do that in a separate video because I need to do some research, and I actually have a story that I want to tell you guys about somebody I know personally that was in a similar situation, and just give another perspective to the whole thing with the husband moving the girlfriend in, and how she has Alzheimer's, and the girl, people are saying that they're being very disrespectful. So I'm going to do a separate video for that. So the last story that I'm going to cover is about the prison in Brooklyn, where there's a lot of outrage going on because there's no heat. And it started with there was no heat to now we talking about ain't no heat, ain't no plumbing, ain't no water running. People ain't getting no medical care. So I don't know if this is really going on, or if this is just social media doing the most. But let me go ahead and read this story to you. And I think this was from MDC News. It says, outrage grows over reports of Brooklyn prison with little heat, electricity during frigid week. This is inhumane and violation of the detainees' constitutional rights, New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand tweeted. Protests outside Brooklyn jail after workers, inmates go for days without heat and hot water. And the part of me that's kind of like, do we have some Jussie Smollett stuff going on here? Is because they said that the workers were in all this cold. So I'm thinking, okay, y'all don't care about the inmates, but you don't care about the workers either. Like, I don't know. But then again, I was thinking about, I had shared on social media with one of my Facebook friends who's actually one of the protesters. And I was sharing with her that most prisons don't have air conditioning, and in states like Florida, and I know in St. Louis, where it gets like, I think in St. Louis, they say it can get like, feels like 150 degrees inside of these prisons. Prisoners are dying of heat strokes, but the prisons don't have to keep record or keep statistics on how these inmates are dying. And so it is very common for these prisons to get over 100 degrees. And so, like, I haven't been in my house with my air conditioner not working, and it's been like 90 degrees in this house, and I thought I was going to die. I can only imagine what it's like to be in a prison and it's over 100 degrees. And so nobody seems to care about that. And then I think in Texas, somebody filed a lawsuit. So now Texas, the state of Texas lost that lawsuit, and now they are having to put air conditioning in all of their jails and prisons. And so that's ongoing now. But there are other states like St. Louis, Missouri, here in Florida, I'm sure Georgia, New Orleans, really racist states, Mississippi, like it's probably like unbearable and probably numerous deaths. But anyway, let me go ahead on with the Brooklyn story. So outrage among advocates and New York officials was growing on Saturday after protests that a Brooklyn federal jail had limited heat and power during a week when temperatures in the city dropped as low as 3 degrees Fahrenheit. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio tweeted Saturday night that the city was sending trucks with hundreds of blankets and hand warmers to the jail, and generators were being ready for transport. U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York, tweeted, "This has to end now." On Friday, the New York Times reported that Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn's Sunset Park neighborhood had limited power and heat for the more than 1,600 inmates housed there. The power issues began around January 5th, but the heating issues started last week, the Times reported. The Federal Bureau of Prisons said in a statement Saturday evening that the jail experienced a partial power outage due to a fire in the switchgear room, and that the West building had limited power, but the East building was unaffected. It said a new electrical panel was installed Saturday by an outside contractor. The facility is working to restore power as expeditiously as possible, the agency said in a statement, adding that the work is expected to be completed by Monday. Inmates have hot water for showers and hot water in the sinks in the cell, the statement read. Essential personal hygiene items and medical services continues to be provided. New York City Emergency Services is providing blankets to MDC, Brooklyn, and inmates will receive additional blankets and clothing today. Earlier Saturday, the Prisons Bureau said Con Edison has been dealing with numerous power emergencies in the community and that MDC Brooklyn is working with Con Edison to resolve the issue as soon as possible. However, Con Edison said they were not having power issues on their end, and any electrical issues at the jail were internal and the jail's responsibility to fix. In response to reports of extremely cold conditions, Donald Lieberman, executive director of the New York Civil Liberties Union, called on the jail to move inmates to a location where their needs would be met and to fix the issues inside the facility immediately. Now, I don't know where she thought they was going to move these inmates to, but I guess it don't hurt to make the request and see what happens. So it is shocking that the government will hold people for days on end in a dark, freezing jail during one of the coldest weeks in memory, Lieberman said in a statement. People incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, not forced to struggle to survive in dangerously freezing temperatures. On Friday, New York City Council Speaker Corey Johnson tweeted that he and fellow politicians, New York Rep. Nydia Velasquez, Assemblywoman Joanne Simon, Councilman Brad Latner, Carlos Menchaca, Justin Brennan, all of whom represent parts of Brooklyn, were at the jail to see the situation themselves, according to a tweet from Johnson. So on Saturday, Lander tweeted that he and other politicians would be protesting with other demonstrators outside the jail. Sunset Park dialogue must end today, he wrote. Inmate telephones and computers and televisions had no power, but inmates' public defender phones and staff phones were working, the Prisons Bureau said. All areas of the jail have lights, it said. As reports of the heat and power issues began to circulate, local activists, politicians, and officials shared their indignation on Twitter. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand retweeted a video taken outside the jail in which it seemed that inmates could be heard banging on the walls on the facility in protest. This is inhumane and violation of the detainees' constitutional rights. The Bureau of Prisons needs to fix this immediately, Gillibrand wrote. So this was like a really, really long article. It was going on just basically the back and forth between politicians, speaking up like they always do, like they never know what's going on until the protests begin. And then to add to this story, so the person on my Facebook page who was sharing video, and I'll drop that footage in here, so it was like they had built this chain around the prison, and they were bringing supplies and everything, and just basically, you know, demanding that something be done. And somewhere else at the prison, there was another group of people that included Love and Hip Hop New York reality star Yandy Smith. And so I'm going to post some video about that as well, because Yandy ended up getting pepper sprayed during this ordeal.
Y'all help my sister! They attacked my sister! You gotta rinse them out.
Don't use milk.
Turn that heat on! 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 Turn that heat Turn that heat on! We see you! We see you! Turn that heat on! We see you!
And so after further research, it was determined that the reason she was pepper sprayed is because they actually charged the building. Now, I don't know where they thought they was going, because as soon as you enter the jail, you got the metal detector and guards, police officers standing right there. So where they thought they was going, I don't know, but they got pepper sprayed and sent back outside. And so, guys, what do you think about Yandy? Is her protest sincere, or is she doing this for the camera so that this could be her storyline on Love and Hip Hop, something that they can put on the show, you know, to garner ratings and support for the show? Because like I said, in the video that my Facebook friend was sharing, there were no that type of protest going on. It was just people basically doing a human chain. There were people giving speeches. But where Yandy and crew were, they were like being very loud and just kind of like disorganized, yelling and talking and everything. And then they tried to charge into the building. So leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.